G'day guys and welcome back to the English Aussie. Today we're going to go through our Game Week 9 selection plans and the analysis of the key defenders, midfielders and forwards to be going for, and a few of my own personal selections which I think are the best options for this week. Let's jump right into it. So first up, we've got the defenders. We've got them sorted by expected goals and assists per 90 minutes. At the top, you can see Trent and Robbo from Liverpool leading the way in third place with Aït-Nouri, who we spoke about last week at 0.27. So I think a few call outs here, and the way I've highlighted it is red being an option that I wouldn't go for at the moment. Orange, some issues to consider. Light green, a good option, and dark green, a great option going forwards. So maybe if we talk through the red and oranges first, I've got Robbo in red for Liverpool. I think Liverpool's, despite they've had a great run and had some one of the only few of the big teams to be keeping consistent clean sheets, they have had a great fixture run so far. I do also expect with Alisson out commanding that back four line for Liverpool to concede a few more goals over the next upcoming game weeks. Also with Arsenal, Brighton and Villa in the next 3 game weeks, all of those teams have good attacking potential, and therefore I would say if you do not have Robbo at the moment, it would be a don't buy for me. And if you do have him and you're looking to move into some of those bigger hitters in the midfield, I think he's someone that you definitely could be selling this week. The same goes for Trent Alexander-Arnold. For me, Trent's a really difficult one because he has that potential of getting a mega attacking haul. However, he hasn't been playing in those advanced positions so far this year under Slot the same way he was under Klopp last year for Liverpool. He has been playing a slightly more retracted role and hasn't been getting into those inside positions that he was in previously to score goals in. Hasn't been flying down the wing. For me, I still like Trent as an option. I think if you're not looking to upgrade players elsewhere, he would still be a keep for me. However, if you're looking for a route into a Palmer, a Salah, Haaland going forwards, and you're not sure where else to get the money from, then I think Trent is currently an option to get rid of over the next few game weeks. Where if you're looking to attack those next 3 game weeks and those fixtures, I think Trent out for perhaps an Aït-Nouri, a Porro, a Semedo, or one of the cheaper defenders could really be a way to free up funds to attack the next 3 or 4 game weeks. Outside of that, we've got Gabriel and Calafiori of Arsenal in orange. Calafiori picked up a bit of a knock in the Champions League for Arsenal this week. Think there's a potential that he might be out and Zinchenko is going to come in to fill his slot at left back this weekend. If you do have Calafiori in the team, I would say he's probably a sell for me this week. Having Liverpool, who I think are likely to score a goal, and also having the potential of not playing, similar to Saliba, that's a sell for me for Calafiori. Which is a shame, as he was looking like an interesting asset for Arsenal going forwards, and I was potentially looking at him from game week 12. Hopefully, injury's not too bad, and maybe he'll come straight back into the side. Gabriel, not a sell for me. He will play against Liverpool. However, he wouldn't be someone I'd be looking at bringing into my team, at least for the next, at least for this game week. I think the thing is with Gabriel is I do think he does have a potential to get an attacking return against Liverpool because Liverpool's defending off corners is sometimes a little bit airy-fairy, to be honest. And Gabriel being that strong presence off the corner could have a chance of getting a headed goal. Only thing is with Saka likely to be out, is the delivery going to be as good into him? So for me, Gabriel is a don't sell, don't buy for this game week. Looking at now some of the better options, we've got Rico Lewis from Man City as a green. I think Rico Lewis is a great option still. I've said this for many weeks now. He is a buy for me if you can get him in your team. I think he's now at 4.8 million. 4.8 million into the Man City backline. Kyle Walker's been commented from Pep that he's still not ready to play. So that means that Rico Lewis is likely going to be in that starting lineup for most games. Similar to Guardiola for me, I think Guardiola will likely start. However, there was a comment from Pep that he can't play every 3 days, but he was rotated in the Champions League this week in Man City's game, so I think he's also a likely start and also a great option for Man City. Other players, Semedo and Ait Nouri for Wolves. So Wolves have this fantastic fixture run coming up from game week 10 to around about game week 17, where pretty much all of those games are green or grey fixtures for defensive likelihood of keeping clean sheets. I know Wolves have not been a fantastic defensive team, and that is probably the only reason I'd be slightly hesitant. But if you are looking for a cheap defender and one that you might rotate in some weeks if Wolves are not going particularly well, I think Ait Nouri and Semedo are both really good options. You can see their attacking returns are super high, and with Wolves' great fixture run, it is possible that they could also get some attacking returns. Semedo obviously with 2 assists at the moment, and Ait Nouri with 2 goals and 2 assists already in 8 games. Both fantastic options. The only thing with Wolves I would say is there is a potential, because their fixture run is so long and it continues for such a long period of time, of just waiting a couple of weeks and seeing how it goes with Wolves, and then yes, sure, maybe the prices are going to rise, but if you're not worried about catching a price rise right now and you're not going to get priced out of something like this, maybe just see how Wolves go over the next couple of weeks against Brighton and Palace, and then maybe look to pull them in and attack that Southampton game in game week 11. A few others options that I've got on here is De Ligt of United, who I think United have been really strong defensively. Pedro Porro of Tottenham, just looking to attack those next 3 game weeks, and Nathan Collins of Brentford, who's that aerial threat off the Brentford set pieces, along with Brentford's great fixture run. I think Pedro Porro for me is, the reason I've got him highlighted on the right here is if you're looking to attack those next 3 game weeks, and you have a strategy of 9, 10, 11 looking to attack, and then 12 you're looking to make some big changes or move out of some of these higher price players, such as potentially moving out of Haaland in game week 12 when City's, or game week 12 or 13 when City's fixtures start to turn, and looking to attack that threemium in the midfield, then it could be a good option for you right now to just attack with Pedro Porro over those next 3 game weeks. You see Trent's fixture run is not good over those 3 game weeks, and Porro's is great. That could be something where you look to flick to Porro for a few weeks and then maybe back to Trent in the future when you've got those funds available in game week 12 from a Haaland transfer, perhaps. I think those are the key people that I wanted to speak about for defenders. So if we move on to our midfielder analysis. So here, the 2 main guys that we want to talk about are Mo Salah and Cole Palmer. I think everybody's looking at these 2 guys this week, with Saka being most likely out. My opinion of Saka is, I said at the beginning of the week, if he doesn't play in the Champions League and he's not on the bench, he won't play on the weekend. I don't think he'll play on the weekend. You should definitely sell him if you've got him in your team. Not worth having him in there for this weekend against Liverpool. Who do you go to? Do you go to a Palmer or a Salah? Now, this is a question that's probably got a lot of people very divided over this week. Other options, obviously, De Bruyne, Son, Foden, also potential options. But I think these 2 guys are the ones that most people will be looking at this weekend, with Chelsea playing Newcastle and Liverpool playing Arsenal. I have a view on this that I think the best pick here is Mo Salah. And the reason for that being twofold is that, one, Arsenal have lost some key defenders over the last after the last week. Calafiori picking up an injury and Saliba getting red carded in the last game week. So the defence is slightly weaker than usual. With Saka being out as well, that is also something that they're not used to playing. And the way that they play, a lot of the ball goes, especially when Odegaard was there as well, a lot of the ball went through Saka. So are Arsenal going to be able to keep possession the way they have been? Are they going to be as used to playing with each other? Is that team chemistry going to be there? And on the other hand, Mo Salah has although the ball has not gone through him as much as it has in past seasons, and he hasn't had as many big chances. He's been more clinical than he's been in previous seasons. I used to watch Liverpool games with my dad in the past, and honestly, Mo Salah, every time we'd watch him play, he'd have 3 big chances before he could score, and we'd be counting them. It'd be like, oh, Salah's had 3 chances, he's going to score the next one he gets. And it's because all the play used to go through him before. This season, he's been far more clinical with his chances. He just hasn't had as many. So if he is going to get presented with a few more opportunities in some of these game weeks, I think he's a really fantastic option. Also, for me, he's a captaincy option in both game week 10 and game week 12, with Liverpool having Brighton in game week 10, who have been known to be playing some exceptionally high lines, and Salah is clinical at punishing that, as well as Southampton, who again have been trying to play out from the back. That's just going to cause problems against that Liverpool high press if they try to do it against them. So I think for me, in 10 and 12, my number one captaincy option is Salah over a Haaland or a Palmer against Leicester in 12. The one I would have at the moment is Salah. So for me, if I was to pick out of these two, Salah would be who I'd bring in for Saka if I can. Obviously, if you're not able to do that, I think Cole Palmer's a great pick. If you don't have the money to go up to Salah and you just can splash out for another midfielder, I would go for Palmer. I think Newcastle and Man United over the next 2 game weeks, and then Arsenal after that is not an easy 3 game weeks. I think Eddie Howe will play 4-5-1 and try and block out the centre a little bit and make it difficult for Palmer to be moving around in those gaps. Potentially even man mark on him for parts of the game and get people sticking quite close to him. I don't think it's going to be as easy a game as it looks for Cole, but obviously he's a fantastic player and he can score in these sort of games as well. Man United have been a good defence recently, but let's be honest, you never know what you're going to get with them. And Arsenal by game week 11 will have Saliba back, Calafiori might be back, Saka might be back, and they might be back to more of a full strength team. So that game becomes more difficult than Liverpool's game against Arsenal this week. And obviously, game week 12 against Leicester, you're going to want to get Cole Palmer into your team Chelsea have got a great fixture run after that game week 12. And those are the sort of things that you want to try and target going forwards. So look, Palmer and Salah both good options for me. I'd get them in your team if you can for a Saka this week. Other options: Son Heung-min, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. Phil Foden for me is not someone that I'd look to target this week. You just never really know with Pep in that sort of position. He's competing with Gundo, Silva for those 2 spots. I think Kovacic is going to come in DM. And Gundo's not going to play there like he did in Champions League in midweek. So is Foden going to get that starting spot? You don't know. I don't think it's worth having a double up of Foden or Haaland. If you don't have Haaland, maybe Foden's an interesting option. But for me, it's not worth it. I got KDB in there as a green. He's probably not going to be available for this weekend. But he's just someone to consider going forwards. If he does come back for City, it could be a really interesting punt, even if it's just for a couple of game weeks. I think he's down in the low 9 millions at the moment. He could be someone. As a bit of a differential to be going for over this period where you've got 9.4 million he is, where you've got a lot of big hitters in midfield. Son Heung-min, look, I'm always a big fan of Son. I think he's a great player, fantastic finisher, and finishes always better than his expected goals, to be honest. However, I think I've mentioned before, Tottenham, the way they play is set up unbelievably well counter-attacking. And if they do get you on the counter, it's going to be a long way back for teams playing against them. However, when they're not able to counter-attack and they are having to break down low blocks and teams who sit back and defend against them, they don't find it as easy to break down these teams. and those are the situations where Son also struggles to get returns. I think Crystal Palace, Tottenham will probably score, and then Crystal Palace will have to attack, and then Son might be in with a good shout of getting some attacking returns. And obviously, game week 11, they also have Ipswich, so there are two real captaincy options for Son. I would say Haaland's obviously the obvious captain in 9, and I think it'd be difficult to captain Son over Haaland. However, in game week 11, there's not a lot of clear captaincy options. You've got Man City against Brighton, and you've got Haaland in that fixture, and you've got maybe Mo Salah against Aston Villa, which is not that easy a game. Other than that, Son Heung-min really is probably the other standout captaincy option for that week in game week 11. So if you want to go against the grain of the majority of players and pick, weird to call Son a differential, but he's probably a differential pick. I think he's a really good option if you're looking to captain him in game week 11. Outside of that, Kudus obviously red carded. That's why he's in red. And then around that sort of middle price point, and Mbeumo, Johnson, Jota, I think all good options over the next few weeks. I think Jota's nailed down that starting lineup. If he's fit for Liverpool, he's nailed down that striker lineup. If not fit, then Darwin could be somebody that we look to go into over the next few weeks. I think we'll see. We'll see, as we'll be doing another episode of reviewing our Premier League players' fantasy teams next week, and maybe we'll take a look at Diego Jota's team or another Liverpool teammates' team to see whether they've got him in there, and we'll have a good idea of whether he's going to be playing over the next couple of weeks. And Adama Traore, I think, have just highlighted along with Buonanotte of Leicester, they both have really incredible non-penalty expected goals and assists for people who are, I think, 5.1 and 5 million at the moment. Buonanotte of Leicester over the last few game weeks has really thrived in the role he's been playing, and Leicester have like a really good, some really good fixtures over the next 6 to 8 weeks, really. Same for Fulham. Adama Traore has a really good bunch of 4 fixtures that you can really look to attack over these few weeks. So if you are looking to again get in some big hitters over the next few weeks, and you want to attack these few game weeks and use your transfers to move around the good fixture runs or the good form, these are 2 budget price enablers that I think are really good options going forwards. Moving on to probably the only one more. One more person that I think haven't mentioned is Garnacho of United, who I think again is a great option for United, and I think we'll talk about a little bit later in some of my personal picks for the week that I've said that I think he's a really fantastic option going forwards. And gives you something a little bit unique, similar to Buonanotte of Leicester. Actually, they have those sort of nice dribbles, keep the ball really nicely, and just find themselves in those attacking positions for these teams. Moving on to the forwards, quite a few talking points in the forward line at the moment, and I think this is the midfield and the forward lines at the moment are really where people are thinking about manoeuvring their team around now to have a different structure. I would have said previously the structure's probably been having 2 up front, maybe a 4-4-2, or even a 4-5-1 I've seen people playing. There have been a few 4-3-3s, but I think going forwards we're going to be looking maybe into more of a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, or even a 4-4-2 formation, with trying to have as many of those big hitters packed into the midfield as possible. So here you can see at the top of the list Nicholas Jackson still, and that's just coming off those previous game weeks where Chelsea just had so many so many chances, especially that one against Wolves, and you see with Cole Palmer also topping that way. Um, Nicholas Jackson for me, look, he's someone that I would probably consider getting in maybe a game week 12. I think Chelsea have a good fixture run at that point, but if you do have him in your team right now, I wouldn't be getting rid of him. I think he's obviously going to lead the line for Chelsea. He's going to be playing in that team until game week 17 when AFCON comes up and he's going to be going away. So obviously factor that into your long-term planning. But I think Jackson, a good option for me. Johan Wissa, he's come back from Brentford. Will he start this week against Ipswich? If he does start this week, he could be magic up front at 6 million. Absolute magic against Ipswich. And those are the fixtures that you want to be targeting this year. An Ipswich fixture, a Southampton fixture, and a Leicester fixture. Those are those three teams that you're really going to want to be looking to A, captain your players against, and B, bring in transfers to hit those games. And I think with the 5 rolled transfers that's possible this year, attacking fixtures is going to be a real plan for a lot of fantasy managers. And I think it's really key that people look to use those transfers in attacking manner to gain rank and gain places. Um, and if there are options there to make some good picks, that's the way to go for me. Obviously, like if you've got some plans now running through to game week 12 and 13 with those fixture swings where you want to roll a couple of transfers and then make a big play in 12, great. But if you do have transfers already saved up and you think you'll have enough by 12, then attack those fixtures now. I think Wissa would be a bit of a punt, as he might not start, but it could really pay off for you. Similar for Raul Jimenez, who for me is the, probably the number one pick out of number one pick out of the strikers for me. Number one pick out of the strikers for me. Great form, great fixtures, budget price, and really just playing fantastically well at the moment. Might even be on penalties now after Pereira missed the last one. So yeah, I mean, really, he's just a great budget price striker. If you want to be attacking the fixtures and the form, I think everyone's aligned on this. Jimenez is a great place to go. Good expected goals, expected assist stats, expected assists. I think I spoke about previously. Slightly inflated. You can probably bring them down by about 0.15. Just for that one assist that he got for Pereira with that incredible back flick that was a tap in for Pereira. That sort of inflated his stats a little bit. Outside of that, we got a bunch of good strikers. Obviously, Erling Haaland this week. I think he's going to score against Southampton. If he blanks again, I know he's got 2 in midweek in the Champions League with that incredible acrobatic finish. But I think it's going to be difficult for Southampton to keep him out. They do have some guys that I think if they go to that back 5 that a lot of the teams have been playing to keep City quiet, and they man Mark Haaland, they're almost going to have to put two of their defenders on him. He's going to try and move out into those other lines and create space for some of the runners in the midfield. And then I can see Man City scoring goals, but Haaland not being the one to score them. However, I just have a feeling this week against Southampton, City will be a bit too much for them, and they won't be able to mark Haaland out of the game all the way through. So I think he's really my clear captaincy option for the week, with no one else particularly standing out for me as a captaincy option this week, other than maybe a Heung-min Son if you had him in your team. Outside of that, Dominic Solanke. Oh, sorry. Maybe we'll go through the good ones first. I'd say Ollie Watkins, just in great form. John Drown started in Champions League in midweek, so I'm pretty confident that Watkins will start again. He's been bagging goals. He's Villa's main man. He's great at running in behind. He's great with his head. He can finish with both feet. He's just an all-round fantastic striker. And I think over the next 4 weeks, he could score in all those games, to be honest. Again, Tottenham, having people running behind Tottenham, having people running behind Liverpool, and then Bournemouth, Crystal Palace either side of that. I'd be keeping Watkins through that run, and I do have Watkins, and I will be keeping him through that run. So let's hope that he grabs some goals. Danny Welbeck, let's hope he's fit. Brighton have a great fixture run from 12. If Welbeck's fit and available, he'd be probably one of my number one targets from Gameweek 12 forwards. Chris Wood is just a talisman for Nottingham Forest, and Chris Wood does this to me multiple years in a lot of my mini leagues. One of my best mates always has Chris Wood in his team. I always tell him, how can you have Chris Wood in your team? He's so boring as an option. Sorry, Chris. Chris Wood always scores goals. One every other week, I'm told he scores, and he's there. He is at the moment. Eight starts, 5 goals. So the way Nottingham Forest is set up is all to funnel the ball into Wood. Gibbs White makes those driving runs forward, but ultimately that end product is always funneled into Wood playing up top. And that's why he's a critical player for Nottingham Forest, and also a great option for your fantasy team. Again, at a cheap price, around 6 million. Not great fixtures over the next 2 weeks. Nottingham Forest, really, their fixture run starts to get a bit better around 16, 17, 18. And that's the sort of time where maybe I'd flick out of like a Danny Welbeck to a Chris Wood or something like that. João Pedro, again, similar to Danny Welbeck on fitness. If he's fit, we'd love to have him in from game week 12. He's obviously a talisman for Brighton. So we'll have to monitor him over the next few game weeks to see if he's fit. And then some of the orange where I think you've got to be careful if you're picking these players. Dom Solanke for Tottenham. He's sort of been almost dropping in a little bit, picking the ball, passing it out to other players, and using those wingers that run in behind. That's sort of the way that Tottenham have been going lately. And I'm just a bit concerned that maybe he's not playing as a poacher for Tottenham, which you really want him to be in that number 9 role. Cunha and Strand Larson, I think you just got to be careful. Maybe wait a couple of game weeks on these guys because, yeah, Wolves have a great fixture run, but Wolves have a great fixture run all the way to game week 16. So you can afford to wait a couple of weeks and see who comes out as a good option. Are Wolves going to be? I'm not convinced that Wolves are going to be scoring a lot of goals. I know they've got 3 each so far, but I think for me, I'd say be careful and maybe just wait and see a couple of weeks. And if you do want to go for them, target maybe the Southampton fixture in 11 for these guys. Between the two, if I had to pick, I'd pick Larson for the cheaper price and the positional play, even though Cunha is probably the better player. Delap and Dom Calvert-Lewin. Delap, I think, is a great player, but I think Ipswich are a bad team. They're not going to create the chances, so I wouldn't go for him. Dom Calvert-Lewin, if you got him in your team, you just got to hope he starts learning to finish because he gets a lot of chances and they've got a great fixture run. And if Calvert-Lewin can finish the chances in the upcoming game weeks, people are going to regret not going for him and you would regret selling him. But at the moment, for me, he's an avoid because his finishing's just been so poor. But on the flip side, he's getting in those chances, he's getting in the positions, and he's creating those chances. So if you do have him in your team, don't be disheartened. He might grab some goals going forwards. Spoken about João Pedro and Wissa, I think if we go on to my personal picks for the week, these are the 4 guys that I've gone for. Mo Salah's my pick of the bunch. I think just for the captaincy options in 10 and 12, the weaker Arsenal defence this week, and the way that Salah's been playing this season, I just think he's a real fantastic pick. He's the premium that I'd want to have in my team, and I think when a lot of people are buying someone else, it's a really good option if you think that somebody else is a strong player. That's where you can gain points on people. I think Salah's the guy for me that's going to help me boost in rank and outscore Palmer. Gvardiol at the back. I've spoken a lot about Gvardiol. I think he's just a great player, a great price. I know he's now going up in price a little bit, but I had him at 5.9. Playing fullback for City and playing so attacking. He scored 2 goals in the last 4 weeks. City have a good chance for some clean sheets over the next couple of game weeks as well, hopefully, if they can stop conceding. So yeah, I think Gvardiol also a great player. Garnacho for Man United. I think he's been Man United's best attacking player by far. Again, he just has that little bit of dynamism in the midfield that's a bit different to other players that you see. Dribbles with the ball, takes a lot of shots, definitely looks to shoot rather than pass. And you can see by his XG being 0.5 and his XG&A being 0.58 that he's not really an assist man. But that's good. It means he's creating, he's going for those chances and trying to score those goals, and that's what you want from a midfielder, with 5 points being for the goals. Man United have got a good fixture run over the next 4 game weeks, and again, someone that you could look to attack, especially this week, having West Ham, who have been very poor defensively. And then finally, Raul Jimenez, great form, great fixtures, great price. That's the magic 3 for anybody that you're looking for. Raul Jimenez, fantastic option. Would love it if he was on penalties and played for Man City as well. You'd definitely have him in, wouldn't you? But no, Raul Jimenez, brilliant option, and I think he's someone I would look to attack with this game week if possible. That is all from me this week, guys. Thanks very much. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content. Let me know if you enjoyed this video and if there's anything else you'd like to see next time. Thanks again, guys, and good luck this game week.